Hello and welcome to Well Woman. It's Sue Lynn, your hormone health coach, and thank you for tuning in. If you're looking for the latest advice on women's health, food, mood, tips, hacks, and all the hormone things, you've come to the right place. In this episode, I'm talking with Dr. Anna Young-Ferris about the benefits of having a devotional practice. She's going to give us all the tips and tricks on how to bring this beautiful, enlightened way of being into your home and into your daily life. I hope you love this episode. Let's get to the show. Today, I got together with the graceful and wise Dr. Anna Young-Ferris to dive a little deeper into the subject of devotional practices. I'm a big believer in the power of ritual and intention to transform ordinary moments of my day into moments of truth and insight. So this is a topic I have been keen to explore myself, and when Anna suggested it a few weeks ago, friends, it was meant to be. So here we are on Well Woman once again, two women who love talking, who love each other, and we want to tell you what devotional practices are, what to do, how to incorporate them into your life, how they can enrich your beautiful life, and how having a devotional practice can create this ripple of loving kindness and beauty from you, yes, you, into the world. Okay. Hi, Anna.
Hi.
It's so nice to have you back.
Thank you for having me. It's always such a pleasure to have our chats and see you and chat to your community.
Now, we talked about how we should begin this episode, and both agreed that it would be beautiful to start with the mantra that you sang for me last year. So I think we should use that as a bit of a pathway into getting into the most beautiful space, like a delicious space, so that we can then go on and have a conversation. So everybody who's listening, to all of our beautiful listeners, if you'd like to just relax, you are welcome, if it's safe to do so, to close your eyes and take a moment now just for you and kind of just ingest all of these beautiful vibrations and sounds. And remind me, Anna, what was the name of this mantra?
This is called the Sarva Mangala Mula Mantra. So it's a devotional chant to Narayani. Yeah. Goddess Narayani.
I mean, your rendition is my favorite, I have to say. You have the voice of an angel. So let's hear this beautiful mantra, and then we have so much to share with you, everybody. So we're excited to get to that as well.
Beautiful. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
I might even close my eyes. Okay. Om Sarva Mangala Mangaye Shive Savata Sarike Sharanye Trayambaki Gauri Narayani Namostute Om Sarva Mangala Mangaye Shive Savata Sarige Charanye Trayambaki Gauri Narayani Namostute Om Sarva Mangala Mangaye Shive Savata Sarike Sharanye Trayambaki Gauri Narayani Namostute Om.
Thank you so much, Anna. Namaste.
Namaste.
Mm. You probably have some people who are listening and are curious what actually that mantra means.
Sure. I can give you a little bit of a interpretation. So it's really just surrendering, which I guess is a beautiful way to start this conversation. It's a way of surrendering to the divine. And for me, that divine is in the form of Narayani, who is that goddess with those three qualities: inner strength and courage, of abundance and health and wealth and beauty, and then wisdom and creativity. And so if you think that's a powerhouse of energies, qualities, form that can help guide us in our daily life. And so, yeah, it's really about bowing down, surrendering to Narayani in that form of the divine. Yeah, and surrendering.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fascinating to learn actually more about Narayani and also this idea about, those qualities that we're kind of bringing into ourselves, but also bringing a quality out into the world while we're doing that too. And that the feeling that I have when I listen to, for example, you singing the Narayani mantra, it takes me back to that beautiful inner bliss state that I feel when I'm meditating or when I'm just sitting in nature and I'm just being. We talked a lot about just being last time we got together. And I guess my first question to you today is meditation, particularly Vedic meditation, can create that delicious inner bliss so well. So we got to go in and we feel that. But what I feel like you're doing, what comes through the way that you have your devotional practices is you're actually finding a way to create this beautiful ripple effect and send that inner bliss back out into the world, which is so amazing and so full of grace. So my first question to you is, explain for us this idea of a devotional practice. Give us an idea of what it is, what it looks like.
Sure. Beautiful. Yes. And I loved our chat so much last week. So, yeah, that was very much focused on that inward experience of the divine, or of the bliss of the being, as you know so well, and you've experienced it. And as we said last time, it's that direct experience of that bliss. It's just that tranquility, that peace. It's just so resonant, and particularly with a technique like Vedic meditation, it's a very, very precise technology, using the mantra, using that internal vibration, that internal sound to bring you to that place of being. And as you said, it's the same feeling when you're sitting to meditate, when you're transcending, to when you're in nature. That energy is there. There is always that underlying resonance of that bliss, of that being. And so, how my own path and journey has been evolving, I guess you say. So, Vedic meditation is absolutely the foundation, my twice daily practice. I also do some other practices on top of that. That's the sort of, I guess, the inward journey. And so, what I think we're going to talk more about today, and what I'd love to share, is the outward devotion. So, certainly you could say that Vedic meditation is a form of devotion. It's a form of, self-care, looking after yourself, knowing you have this mantra that can take you to that place away from the hustle and the bustle, the monkey mind, all the external that we went on, we spoke about a lot last time. And so that's great. And, and personally, I've been doing that for probably 13 years. And then 5 years before that was another practice, my own sort of inspired Buddhist yogic practice. So I've been going on the inward plane for a very, very long time, and, seeing all of the benefit of that. And then I think my journey and meeting my living guru, a couple of years ago, uh, who she's always been there, but really actually meeting her, and it's such a blessing and a privilege to have a living master in your life guiding you. Um, Meeting her and being at her ashram, at her temples, really just made my whole journey. And it's been a pretty wild ride, through the meditation teaching and through my different careers in terms of academia and corporate world and all the things that I also do, as a professional. And meeting her was like this coming home and this realization of this, that I was expressing it internally and feeling the benefits, and certainly the benefits were flowing, and the vibrations were flowing out into my family and my friends and my community. However, it was going to India. This was back in August 2022, and meeting my guru, that then this outward devotion, or what is sometimes called bhakti in Sanskrit, really enlivened within me and came alive. And it's really, as you said, it's bringing that bliss, that feeling, that joy, that peace, bringing it to the outward plane in a more, visceral, sensual way, so that not only you're feeling the benefits, but then you can share that with, my meditation community, with my family, my children. And so, yeah, there's now added to my sadhana. So remember, sadhana is your spiritual practice, your sort of daily spiritual practice. So I have the twice daily Vedic meditation, I have my cities practice. And in addition to that, and you can make this as elaborate and as timely and time consuming, or you can also do smaller bursts of devotional practices. It's really about, how you come to this, and your own state of consciousness when you're coming to these practices. So it's not, and it's a similar kind of journey with meditation when you're first starting out, a regular meditation practice, where sometimes it can feel a bit like it's a chore and it's something I have to fit in. So it's the same with these outward devotional practices, where you don't want to just be sort of jamming it in, fitting it in, all of that. You want to be in that space, in that expanded state, to then, give within your heart. You're devoting to a higher power.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so similar to what we discussed last time around, having this meditation practice and finding the time to fit it in, and we need to reframe the whole way we come to these spiritual practices and devotional practices in particular. And so, you can have a beautiful experience and kind of create that energy and create that energetic field and concentrate that energy in a really short time. You can do short puja is a way, like pu means flower, and it's an offering of the flowers to the divine. So we're offering to the divine, to Narayani, for example. And why do we have these forms? Well, the human mind needs form. It's hard for us to understand. The mind likes, to have a form, and it's hard for us to kind of understand things that are beyond that physical plane. So that's why there are the forms. And, again, it's something that's organic in your own journey. It's not something that you kind of plan out. If you'd asked me 5 years ago, what does my sadhana look like? I certainly wouldn't have had any idea that it's as kind of elaborate as it is now. I mean, I could spend hours and hours and hours, in sadhana, but you can also, as I was sort of trying to say, it doesn't have to be elaborate. You can do a small little puja ceremony, and I'm actually really excited. This weekend at my group meditation, I'm going to share with my students a really simple, it could be 5 minutes, devotional practice that they can do before they meditate, or they could do it after they meditate, or they could do it separately. Again, it's just where, as it's all about flexibility. And, in this modern world where we're all ultra busy, urgency culture, that we do what we can with what we have. And, even if we don't have a flower to offer, but we're just offering our heart. That's all
Or
you
even,
need.
yeah, even if you're singing, you're offering sound as well.
Yes.
And um, yeah, I agree. It doesn't have to be actually even something that we attach value to. For example, if I go out wildcrafting and I'm picking herbs or flowers or wild growing plants, I put incense down, because it's something that has meaning for the plants or meaning for nature, but not necessarily something we would say, I have to go and buy this in order to give it away, because therefore it's valuable. And I've been at your group meetings when you've sung the mantras and lit the incense and talked about what you're doing and put the little flowers on your images, your frames, and it's just such a beautiful experience. And everybody in the room is very silent and really taking in that energy of grace. So, even, I mean, I just want to say, even if it's not us performing it, but we're just there in the presence, it's so beautiful. It's such a
Yes.
gift to us as well.
And so this is like leads me to a beautiful point around that we, technically we don't need to have temples. We don't need to have altars. We don't need any of it because the divine is actually everywhere around us. The energy is everywhere. However, sort of harking back to last week, the culture that we've created has kind of, shut off that connection or
Mm.
severed that connection, as I was saying. So what is beautiful is when you come to spaces, when you come to temples or come to my beautiful meditation studio and I have the altar, that energy, I'm chanting the mantras every day. So the vibration is very, very palpable and it's there and it's a concentration of that divine energy in that space. And that's why, yeah, everyone's sort of quiet and reverent and um
Absolutely.
it's and
Yes.
then you transfer that and go and sit in my teachers' temples and ashrams, and it's like 1,000 times, 1,000 times the energy field.
So much
So
consciousness, you won't know what to do with it.
yes, yes, exactly, exactly. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
what's happening is you get the concentration of that energy, and as humans
Mm.
with our minds, our small self, we need to have those forms and those spaces that then help us to kind of get out of there and into here because this is
Oh,
what really
beautiful.
it's all about.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
we do get quite attached to kind of living through our eyes, to having this sort of, we see it, so therefore we understand it, or therefore we believe it. I think that what you're doing is incredibly important because it's also awakening all of our other senses. So when you start talking about bhakti and having sound or smell or just silence and coming together and offering our prayers, it seems to aliven all of our other senses. So suddenly the sense of touch, I know people who go out into nature and they have to touch everything. They have to touch all the petals and all the leaves. It's coming to life, or smelling what's around us, standing by the ocean and hearing the sound of the waves and just allowing yourself to kind of really take that in. And I mean, yeah, there's nothing more awesome, is there, than nature. And you mentioned with the mantra, this is actually something I wanted to ask you. You mentioned about the Vedic meditation having a mantra which comes from nature. And I was quite interested. Could you explain the difference between the sort of mantra that we might use in a Vedic meditation practice compared to, say, the mantra that you just so beautifully sang for us? What's the difference between them?
Yeah. Sure, sure. And I just wanted to say one quick thing 'cause as you were speaking, one of the beautiful parts of doing these practices is offering flowers. So now, if I'm going on my morning walk, I will be like picking the flowers because I know that, I'm going to be offering those soon. So it's just it's anything that gets you out of this thinking, busy monkey mind into the being of, and being present. And
Mm.
that's, I think, what you're sort of saying when you listen to the ocean or you smell the flowers or, you're in community. Yeah. So absolutely. Yeah, there are probably hundreds of thousands of mantras. So everything that, or all the mantras that I teach in the Vedic meditation tradition, and then the mantras that I sing, they all come from the Veda or the Ved, which there's different opinions around exactly the form of these, but let's just say they're four books and they're four sacred um, books of philosophy and technique and technology and Vedic traditions. So a lot of them are what we call the slokas, and it's the mantras, and they. So the Sarva Mangala is in the Veda. So that was the one I was singing or chanting earlier for Narayani. That was in one of the books. And then there's, a book on specific techniques and technologies like yagya, or yagam, which is a fire ceremony where you're actually using the fire to magnify the vibrations of the divine energy. And it's very healing. These that you can literally change the karmic journey of your life through participating in these yagyas and yagams. So there's a book around that and these different ceremonies and rituals. So yeah, but someone actually once described like Sanskrit to me, and I just love this. Sanskrit is the language of the divine, or the language of God, the language of love, which is so beautiful. English is the language of transaction. And I thought, yeah, that's pretty much it in a
That's
nutshell.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that always stuck with me. So there are these songs and these beautiful slokas and mandalas and thousands of them. And these, we'll say priests, these Vedic or pundits, they are like schooled and to learn and to recite the different mantras that are being, chanted. And there's all very specific purposes and specific energy forms or goddesses, as I was saying, Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati being called upon. So that's kind of the big, big canon of knowledge and wisdom and philosophy. And then we also have what we call our bija mantras, our bij mantras. So these are the sort of, I don't know if we want to say single syllables, but that's probably what our Western mind can hold on to. And when we first get our Vedic mantra, our bij mantra, it's like the seed. And so again, it's a Sanskrit sound, and even these bij mantras can represent the divine goddess and qualities. So it's all connected, but essentially with our Vedic meditation, we have a very specific technique that has been cognized through, a very long lineage of masters to end up with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, as we mentioned last time, and then him kind of doing these experiments and seeing that, yes, 20 minutes twice per day, connecting with this bij sound, this bij vibration, bij mantra, is what can help our physiology, our mind, everything settle down so we can actually come into that expanded state and that full sort of consciousness. So they're the bija mantras. And then as you journey on, you may at some point in your meditation life feel like your practice is plateauing a little. So then you can get an advanced technique. And that's like an elaboration, some more syllables added to that bij mantra. You always keep your bij mantra. And so the technique is very much inward for the Vedic meditation. For the bhakti, which I'm also leaning into a lot more now, again, there's a lot of the same syllables that you'll hear, and it's been beautiful on my journey. Is like, oh wow, that's the same set of mantras, but now we're doing it in this way. So you start to just see the connections, and you know and understand the technique and when you're using it for that specific purpose or when it's a pure devotion. You really want to try to get the Western thinking doing logical mind out of the way with all of this and
absolutely.
just allow that kind of spontaneous the spontaneous to arise within. But but it's nice to have teachers and to learn techniques and know what to do because
Mm.
yeah, it's
So
not
then
always
is the
easy.
bija mantra a little bit more about the mantra that takes you in so that you can then start to change the physiology internally? And the other mantras, like the Sarva Mangala, would be they would be quite purposeful types of mantras and perhaps performed in certain ways, or um, they're not so much about you and your individual unique journey, but even a, an offering of devotion to the divine. Is that one
I
way
would
of looking at it, or is it too
Yeah, that's
simplistic to
no, I
say it
think
that
that's
way?
beautiful, but I would say it's both. So I
It's
would say,
both,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. The Vedic meditation technique is a very specific technique where yeah, that's an inward and it's just the
Mm,
sound. So Sanskrit, the form is in the sound. So that's why it's so calming when you're
mm,
hearing your own internal chanting of your beach mantra and also it's the same effect when it's somebody chanting like the Sarva Mangala mantra. It's having the same effect in that Sanskrit, that sound, it's a vibrational quality is just your nervous system like loves it, just wants
yeah,
to
so
soak it all
yummy.
up.
So
Yeah, and it just
yummy.
feels and you can just sort of like that sort of so yeah, like Sarva Mangala, you hear that chanted all throughout the ashram that I visit in particular. It's now on Spotify there's beautiful artists that will chant. That's similar to like the Gayatri mantra. That's
Oh,
probably
yes.
yeah one of the most beautiful, most famous mantras. And they're all about just invoking that divine quality. So it's like the outward expression, and perhaps
Mm,
the Vedic meditation is the inward waking up of that divine within. And so it's nice to have both. It's really nice to
that's
have the journey,
beautiful.
yeah, to complement.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some people will just have their Vedic mantra and, repeat it inward and, have a wonderful life. Others won't have that, but they'll know the outward bhakti. There's no right or wrong. I just like now I've got both, both sets in my toolbox.
So speaking about your toolbox, unpack it for us. Give us some ideas. I mean, what are your top three ways of practicing devotion?
Sure. Beautiful. Well, so I guess, look, the foundation is absolutely the Vedic meditation, and that's, when I first wake in the morning, I will do that. Hopefully, I'm waking, much earlier than the family, so that's always the aim. And yeah, and even before that, I do some chanting. Some Even though actually, so now I'm going to confuse everybody. It's outward chanting, but I do it inward just because it's so early in the morning and my husband's next to me in the bed. So I will. There's just a sequence that I recite.
So you'll be doing that silently, even though you can
It's
feel
the
it going
outward.
out. You can feel it,
Yeah,
yes,
because
outwardly.
e-
Yes.
everything's in consciousness. So it actually doesn't matter
Yes.
if you're chanting out loud or inside. It's the same. In the end, it's the same. And this
Energy
comes
received.
exactly. So if it's early in the morning, the ideal, yeah, would be that. And then I'll do my probably about 30 minutes of Vedic meditation. Then again, all time playing into where I am, and I don't need to be getting up, going early to work or taking children anywhere. I'll also then do my cities, which is another sequence, and that's more like a manifestation practice, and that's about another half an hour, and then I do 10 minutes of rest. So that's the kind of morning sadhana.
And you must be,
And
by the way, feeling absolutely amazing by this stage, ready to
it
just
is
go out into the
nice.
world and spread beauty and cheer.
It is usually I
Yeah.
probably have a little child jumping on top of me by the time I get to the end, depending on the time I've slept in that. But yeah, no, it's such a beautiful way to start the day, just to go inward, connect, and realize, this is how I want to be in the world. I just want to,
Yeah.
sometimes, I may not have had the greatest sleep. And so it's just like that reset, that recalibration, and that clearing and the unstressing, letting that all go and realizing what is my purpose, being a
Mm.
mom, going to work, being a wife, all of those things. So then, then I'll go about the day, getting the kids off to school, and then then I'll go off to work. That could be at home, that could be at office in the city, whatever it may be. Um, if it's in the city, then on the way home, I will meditate on the bus coming back home. So that I do enjoy that because I get a nice, good 45 minutes. And so, as we know, with Vedic meditation, noise is no barrier. So that's why I can do that quite easily. If I'm at home working, then I'll, just stop and do, probably about a 30-minute practice. Or sometimes I might take one of the kids to one of their afternoon activities and then I'll sit in the car and do it there. So, as you know, you've got to be really flexible. And with my Narayani devotion, so my beautiful little Narayani, and yes, she's a statue, and people can sort of have their ideas, their misconceptions around idol worship, but when you start to really embody these practices and this knowledge, that all just drops away. You just realize how much noise there is also in the spiritual path. So this is Narayani. Oh, there you could see her smiling.
Yes.
So Narayani is the Mother Divine. She's the Supreme Shakti, the goddess. So she is a embodiment of. So there are three kind of very well-known major goddesses in Vedic culture, in Hindu culture. So that's Durga, who I think I saw on your cards just then. So Durga represents the quality or the energy of inner strength and courage. So very important for all of us. And then there's Lakshmi. She is the goddess of abundance, beauty, wealth, health. So all of the things that you want. And then there is also Saraswati, and she is the goddess of wisdom and creativity. And so those three expressions, those energetic qualities, are Narayani. She's all three in one. She's three in one. So she's super special, super powerful, and she's got a red coral mala on
Oh,
as well, and a
yeah, that
little
is beautiful.
and her dress. So when I was last in India, it was very exciting. I got her whole wardrobe. So she gets, I do puja to her every day. And then she gets like this beautiful bath once a week,
Oh, I
which
can't
is
wait to hear all
yeah.
about this. I
So
can't wait.
there she is.
Oh,
So what works for me with her is I have a daily puja with her, which is probably 10 or 15 minutes. And I would normally do that once I've put the children to bed. Although sometimes they come and join me, which is really nice because I think it's really great for them to see this. And yeah, and then so that's what I call a Narayani puja. I do aarti, so I will offer light to her. I've got beautiful puja equipment, I guess.
you
I don't
do.
even know
Actually,
what
you had that gorgeous,
the
gorgeous sort of lantern-y style
yes,
candle light, and yeah, you were moving it
lamps.
around and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
were kind of encouraging the light to move towards the statue, the
Yes.
idol of Narayani, and the
Yes.
imagery there. Yeah, that's beautiful. So that sort of practice, I mean, can anybody do that, or do you need to have any sort of training to do that?
I mean, anything that, feels good, you should do it.
I agree,
I
100%.
I am certainly going to teach my students. I think it's nice also to have guidance in these practices. So yeah, by all means, if you've got a strong affinity to, your different cards that you were showing me earlier, or a different sort of god or goddess, there's no take the logic out and just go with
Yes.
what feels good in your heart. But we're cultured, and our minds and brains have been cultured in a very logical fashion in the Western world. So sometimes it's nice to have guidance and have a teacher and have help with that. And
Mm.
so that's sort of, one of my components or focuses this year is to really get my students more on the bhakti outward expression of devotion.
Which
I'm
is so beautiful
assuming,
for community as well, to build community and
exactly.
bring people together.
Well, that's it. And so I'm
Yes.
like, okay, everyone's meditating twice a day. We don't need to go down that path, although listen to the last episode if you want to check in on that. But let's now also just
Yes.
bring this more to life, like really be able to bring it to life. So, yeah, so as you witnessed at one of the group meetings, I was doing the arti, which is that offering of the divine light, and you're offering it to the divine, then you're receiving it, then you're giving it, to anyone that's witnessing, whether it's your meditation students, your children. And you're really doing this because it pleases the divine, but actually you're really doing it for yourself and for your own higher self, which is the divine as well. So,
Mm.
and then the final part of the devotion that I do is another ritual, which is called Abhishek or Abhishekam, and that's the bathing of the deity or the
Oh,
bathing of the
tell me about
goddess.
this.
So this is, and this definitely, I was very specifically trained in this.
Okay.
And it's something I'm really keen to share with my community. So stay tuned. We will be doing this very soon. And this is where you are bathing, there's quite a bit of preparation in terms of special water and special ingredients and herbs that go into that water. We call it the tirtam powder, the holy water. And then you're bathing the idol, the deity, with, in a very, very sort of set sequence. And yeah, that's just beautiful. That takes probably a good hour, maybe a little bit more once you sort of set up, do the ritual, and then clean up. But it's just so cleansing what's happening. There's so many layers, like everything in the Veda. There's sort of what's happening in the physical, and then there's the kind of emotional, psychological, and then there's the sort of,
Oh, that's true. It does translate
greater.
into all those different realms, doesn't it?
Yes. And so you're, from the untrained eye, it looks like you are, pouring water over a statue. Yes, that is what's happening on one level because she needs her bath. And in the Vedic culture, these statues, and this is why you go to all the temples, they're alive with the energy of the mantras being chanted every day. And it's the same
Mm.
get into your home. Um, so really she's then, yes, you're cleansing her, but also you're cleansing your own soul, your own ego, all of your own karma. It's like, it's a very healing process. And yeah, there's a lot happening on the different layers. Um, and it's just again, it just brings such peace and calm. And my teacher in India, she does this every day. She has her own Narayani, and it's like one of the most incredible things to witness every day. And she is um, bathing her Narayani, doing this Abhishekam, and hers is very elaborate. I'm doing some very simple pause. She's got the full shebang going on, and pouring kumkum, pouring turmeric, rose petals, yeah, you name it, it's everything, sandalwood, and each there's such depth to each of the pores is symbolic of something and has a really deep meaning. And so she just does this every day. And when the very first time that I witnessed this, I was, because the mind is just like, what is going on? It doesn't make sense to the mind when you're seeing, you've heard about this person, this guru, this this master teacher, and then you're seeing her pouring water and pouring all these different things over it. So the mind is just like, what is this? But then something just will take over, the energy and the experience just takes over. And I was then, well, actually, there's another part to it. Sorry. So this goes on for about an hour, and then you go away, and there's a break. And because what they're doing is they're actually feeding um, the the divine statue or the divine being, and then they're dressing her in flowers, And so I'm just reminding back to the first time I witnessed this. And so there's a curtain that goes up while all of that process is happening. And that first time the curtain pulled back, maybe we should include some pictures for the listeners. Narayani was just dressed in flowers, like the most beautiful fresh flowers. And
how did you feel when you saw that?
my heart just burst open. I was just crying. I was pretty much that whole trip crying tears of
Mm.
just, I'm home.
Oh, wow.
Found it. And it just, yeah, like it was just it's just the heart opening when when you're just like, oh my God, it's not all up here all the time, actually here. And there's just magic. It's just pure magic. And then I've been gifted the ability to, start sharing this with my community and then bringing my community over to visit, Sri Shakti Amma. And yeah, that's just, yeah, pure magic is all I could say.
Oh my
Pure.
goodness. I mean, someone once described magic to me as when something is there that wasn't there before. It's not like somebody's doing a magic act. It's actually something is manifest. Something's come in, you're feeling it now. And there's no real logical explanation for why it's there, but you can feel it. The magic of, yeah, I can just imagine you there as the curtain is unfolding and this wave of emotion coming in.
It was just like, wow, everything in my journey so far with, as being a human, being a mother, working, all of those things, being a meditation teacher. And as I said, that's been wild and rocky. And then it was, oh, wow, okay, it's all led to this moment of this and meeting my teacher. And she is pure magic. She manifests. So I think I've shared with you before. So she manifested this.
Yes, that is
So it's
beautiful.
actually, oh, I don't know if you can see it.
I don't think I've seen that before,
This
actually.
is the Sri Yantra on this side, and then on this side it's Durga, who
Oh,
is
wow.
goddess of oh, you haven't, maybe you weren't at that group meeting where I shared this. She manifests from thin air. I know. Your mind's
My
probably,
gosh. Yes,
I thought
I'm thinking, yes. According to my definition, that's magic. It's
she is
there.
pure magic. It's
Wasn't there
and
before.
I know she
Golly.
wants me to share this because it's the world, we're in such turmoil at the moment. And, if you turn on the news and
Mm.
it's a crazy world out there. So it's just to show that, that this, yeah.
Gosh, there's a whole story behind that,
Yes,
behind this pendant that you're wearing.
yes, there is. Yeah.
Yes.
When I first went, I witnessed her manifesting to my teacher, one of my teachers, with a group of us that were on retreat. And then one of my journeys back, she manifests this for me. And then my recent trip with my husband and my children, she did it again. And it still doesn't get any more, like you just cannot understand. The mind, yeah, you
Oh
just
my
have to put it to
gosh.
the,
And that trip that you took with your family and also with your students before, could that also then be another form of bhakti?
oh, absolutely.
This
I
is
mean,
another part of your devotional practice
I
that,
think my whole life now is really one big devotion.
yes, I love that. Oh,
You can't separate it out. Like I mean, yes, it is sitting in front of an altar and waving the candle around and, placing flowers down, but there's also just a part it just is now everything in every, well, try to, yeah, definitely have my moments, but that's certainly the way I try to view the world now and my life. And yeah, yeah.
that is so beautiful. So, do you have any parting words of wisdom for anybody who's thinking, this is quite inspiring. I'd like to look into how I could start to develop this side of myself? Any sort of words of wisdom you could pass on to our beautiful listeners?
Yeah, that life is magic and to be gifted a human life is magic. So don't waste it and find your people, find your community. There's so many beautiful teachers and healers out there. go and see you, go and see Sulin, come and see me, come and join our communities. Because we're kind of fed a storyline that's not maintainable, that's not sustainable, that has us thinking, that life is just about how much money we can make and, the beautiful house and car and perfect life. And it's not all it's cracked up to be. And there's much more, and there's much more depth. And the beautiful part, I guess, about the Vedic wisdom and knowledge is ultimately it's about service. Once you kind of can embody within yourself this knowledge and this wisdom, then really it's about helping others, and it's about helping others on their path and helping them to just feel the best. And, whether they learn Vedic meditation or start chanting mantras, it doesn't matter. It's more just helping everyone to be their best version of themselves and not get caught up in the narrative, the matrix. Yes, we have to exist. We have to pay our mortgages. I know all about that. But know that there's something much bigger at play. And, what is the role that you want to be and play in that storyline? That's the storyline I prefer to manifest.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much, Anna, for being with us here today and sharing all of that beautiful wisdom. I know that my community will be so grateful. Just such a gorgeous group of gals. And I think there's some guys listening as well. I just had a thought, for all the listeners who are probably thinking, where do I start? How about we just start with finding you? So maybe they come and learn Vedic meditation with you. I think you have a free meditation as well. You have a training coming up. Okay, tell everybody where they can find you and all the deets.
No worries. Yes. So website is always great. www.Anna Young-Ferris. So ANNAYoungFerris.com. And yes, I have, the regular Vedic meditation trainings, one coming up this weekend. I have group meditation meetings also coming up this weekend. Anyone's welcome to my group meditation meetings. I open them out because I feel like people just need to have the experience, and I'll guide students through if they don't have their Vedic mantra yet. And I also have, as you said, a beautiful free guided meditation, Connect with Heart, 9 minutes. So everybody likes that because that's definitely achievable, and you can just download that. And yeah, it's really, I guess, that nugget of wisdom is, whenever you can, do whatever you can to get yourself into your heart space, which is really hard sometimes. So this meditation will help. Definitely more time in the heart is really what this world needs more than ever.
Beautiful. Thanks, Anna. Thank you so much. And we can't wait to have you back on Well Woman soon again.
Thank you for having me. It's always such a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Well Woman podcast. The information, opinions, and advice in this podcast is not intended to replace professional medical advice, and it's for general information and educational purposes only. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast may not always be those of the host. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you soon in another episode of Well Woman.